deputy headmaster at a boys' school, I'm used to projecting a little bit. There's been a spate of child murders outside schools and inside schools over the past 6 or 7 months. Pretty horrific stuff. Our education system lacks completely enforceable discipline. There is no way that you can discipline a child if he doesn't want to do what he doesn't want to do. What is the DA going to do with regards to, first of all, discipline, and second of all, the education system in general? Because every time there's a debate, it always hinges around that the system is failing. It's not the system that's failing. It's the discipline of the teachers, and more overtly the discipline or lack thereof of the children. End of question.
Thank you.
Otherwise I'd have to write them all down and then. But I want to respond to this question of education. It's absolutely important. The education of the child as a principle, you can appreciate, doesn't start in the classroom, it starts at home. Now, listen to this simple truth. If 50% of our households are female-headed, more than 1 in 4 children in this country at birth die because of malnutrition. They are hungry. That's 1 in 4. You can appreciate that by the time that child gets to school, he's come from a home that's relatively dysfunctional, that is poor. It's something like 26%. Nomsa is here. She's here as the shadow minister and hopefully minister of education soon. But Nomsa would tell you straight up that a quarter of our kids battle with poverty by the time they get to school. So they're malnourished, they're stunted, their growth is affected. So you are arriving in a classroom that is not only overcrowded, but it's got kids who have been affected by the circumstances of their birth or where they come from. So now how do we fix that? We begin effectively by saying, firstly, we've got to deal with the power of unions. Unions protect teachers. They don't protect kids. So if we deal with the fact that we have a disciplined teacher body, we can ensure that the teachers in the classroom actually know what they're doing. In the Western Cape, we do regular assessment of teachers, and the unions have been fighting against us. That's why we make sure kids who start school can finish school. The second issue is that we must address the question of the child grant. It's not good enough that we can give SAA 13 billion rands and ESCOM 23 billion rands, but we give child grants 10 rand increased. We must move that to a living wage or a living grant. So move it from 400 rands to about 780 rands. Now I know you are asking me, where do you get that money? I say, sell SAA.
Yes.
I say, let's not bail out ESCOM. Let's give it to the people. Because a child, at least, who is not hungry, arrives in a classroom, who knows in the system can work, with a teacher that is accountable, with the right leadership. Because you're a headmaster, son. You were a headmaster. Well, once a headmaster, always a headmaster. Even when I see the headmaster of my school in the street, I see, it's once a headmaster always, and he's there at the church. I'm like, hey, I'm still scared of this honorable man. But the truth of the matter is that leadership is everything in a school. It's the principal. It's the principal who makes the worlds different. So our view is that. Then the fourth dynamic is to say, we want to set up charter schools. By charter schools, there's a partnership between companies and the education sector, so that we can work together and then you can privatize education. Because even for poor kids, they have the right to go to a school where the teachers are there on time, where in fact the leadership is right, that we can in fact give them other aspects, because discipline is a culture, not just corporal punishment. Corporal punishment is the last of your problem. It remains with the culture. If the leadership is weak, kids will feel they can take on that leadership. If the society in general and parents of kids are not working with those kids are not going to be well disciplined. Those are the basic facts. So we've got to be able to build in partnership with communities and the Department of and education itself, the school, and what we call equity. Charter schools, so that actually people finance, private citizens can put money into education, and the state can put money into education, and we could provide a part private education. The Department of Education spends just under 12,000 rands per child per year. Imagine if we took that money, we asked a company who said, rather than giving shares to Mmusi for whatever, put them into education. We will give you the land. We'll create a partnership where that center becomes a center of excellence. And we've shown in those schools that happens. So, sir, it's a long-term project. It's about getting the right leaders in schools and actually ensuring that the kids come from homes that at least they can eat, so that we can enforce the appropriate discipline and culture in the education sector. That's a short-term issue. Over a long-term, I mean, when you aggregate education in schools, ex-Model C schools perform better than poor schools, because right there, when you put money into education and you increase the quality of teachers, our schools compete well with many in the world. But when you add rural schools and rural education, it moves right down. And then the last thing I would say is that in order to emphasize discipline, let's be able to focus kids in key streams, so that certain kids who want to do maths and science can focus, but the kids who don't want to do maths and science can do other things equally appropriate.